It's 6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundithavam. The President announces plans to pass women empowering bills in Parliament by June. 2024 investment target set to triple by the year end. The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Donald Liu will visit Sri Lanka. The President to consider increase in senior citizen deposit interest rates. Over 800,000 tourists have visited Sri Lanka this year. In foreign news, at least 60 killed in Afghanistan flash flooding. In sports, Sri Lanka cricket increases player fees across all formats. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized his recognition of the challenges women face in safeguarding their families amidst the economic crisis. He highlighted the government's swift action by presenting 2 bills to Parliament aimed at empowering women during this initial phase of economic recovery. The President indicated that these bills are anticipated to be ratified by Parliament in June, thereby enforcing a national policy on gender equality and women's empowerment. This includes the establishment of a National Commission on Women and mechanisms to protect women's rights and prevent violations thereof, including legal recourse. President Ranil Wickremesinghe made these comments during his keynote address at the unveiling of 3 anti-violence global gestures, handprints against sexual violence targeting women and girls in public spaces, organized by DP Education at the Nelumpokuna Theatre in Colombo yesterday. The State Minister of Investment Promotion, Dilum Amunugama, highlighted that the country's investment environment has undergone a remarkable 200% enhancement compared to 2 years ago. He further stated that the targets assigned to the State Ministry of Investment Promotion by the Ministry of Finance for 2024 could potentially triple by the end of this year. The State Minister emphasized the importance of political stability, financial stability, and certainty about the future to attract investments into the country. He made these comments yesterday during a press conference themed Collective Path to a Stable Country held at the Presidential Media Centre. The State Minister of Investment Promotion, Dilum Amunugama, further stated that for investors to consider a country, they require a political and financial stability along with confidence in the future. The presence of investments indicates the presence of these conditions. He said that he could confidently affirm that the investment background has significantly improved, showing a 200% progress from 2 years ago, making it favorable for investors. During the previous economic crisis, investors were doubtful, but he said he could now provide statistics indicating their return to the country. It is noteworthy that we have surpassed the targets set by the Ministry of Finance, he said. This success is largely recognized to the proactive role played by the government, including the President. The Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs, Donald Liu, will travel to India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh from May 10th to the 15th. His trip will strengthen bilateral cooperation with each country and demonstrate U.S. support for a free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. In Chennai, Assistant Secretary Liu will meet with consulate personnel to bolster bilateral engagement in southern India. He will then travel to Colombo to engage with officials from across the political spectrum and deepen the United States partnership with Sri Lanka. During his meetings, he will reaffirm the United States support for Sri Lanka's economic recovery, as well as the importance of a robust civil society as a cornerstone of a free and democratic society. Assistant Secretary Liu will conclude his trip in Dhaka, where he will meet with government officials, civil society leaders and other Bangladeshis to discuss the U.S.-Bangladesh cooperation, including on addressing the climate crisis and deepening economic ties. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Your next generation digital banking partner, People's Bank.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has instructed Finance State Minister Dr. Ranjit Siamalapitiya to provide him with a detailed report containing the criteria to be implemented regarding the increase in interest rates for senior citizens' deposits. Considering the request and instructions received from the President in this regard, the State Minister stated that he will take action to provide a detailed report including a methodology for raising the senior citizens' deposit interest rates very soon. An annual interest rate of 15% has been offered to the deposits of senior citizens above 60 years in bank and financial institutions. State Minister Sinhala said that many senior citizens who are living on interest income were inconvenienced as the interest rate offered to savings has dropped to a single digit, and they informed him about their plight due to this. These senior citizens have also informed the President from time to time in this regard. He also said the President has sought a detailed report from him to consider this matter carefully and sympathetically and take further action. Over 800,000 foreign tourists have visited Sri Lanka this year. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority said 806,698 tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka from January 1st to May 5th this year, marking a significant increase compared to the same period last year. In just the first 5 days of this month, 22,047 tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka. The majority of these tourists are from India, numbering 4,351, followed by 2,489 tourists from the Maldives. Consequently, during the first 5 days of May, 20% of the tourists were from India, with 1,508 visitors from the United Kingdom and 1,460 from Russia. Notably, the Maldives ranks second among the countries from which tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka. That concludes local news.
Enjoy seamless shopping. Open LCs, settle bills and transfer funds instantly, anywhere and anytime. With People's Bank Digital Solutions, you're empowered to do more whenever and wherever you want. Unlock a world of modern banking conveniences with People's Bank, your next generation digital banking partner. People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
A memorandum will be submitted to Cabinet on Monday to address the salary anomalies of the university non-academic staff by the Education Ministry. Proposals concerning the monthly allowance and wage disparity faced by university non-academic staff will be submitted to the upcoming Cabinet meeting on Monday. A continuous ongoing strike started by the university non-academic employees last Thursday was held for the 8th consecutive day yesterday, based on several demands, including the rectification of the disparity in the salaries of the university non-academic staff and the receipt of monthly compensation allowance. Accordingly, the Joint Committee of the Inter-University Trade Union Federation of Non-Academic Staff said 13,000 non-academic staff withdrew from all services from May 2nd and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. The Natural Hazards Early Warning Centre has issued a warning of severe lightning for several provinces. According to this warning, thundershowers accompanied by severe lightning are likely to occur at several places in the western, Sabragama, northwestern and Uva provinces and also in the Gaul and Matara districts after 2 p.m. today. That came to you in Watchlight, and we move on to a bulletin of world news making headlines this morning. At least 60 killed in Afghanistan flash flooding. The UN General Assembly calls on Security Council to admit Palestine as member. Former Fiji Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama jailed for a year. At least 60 people have died and more than 100 have been injured after flash flooding in northern Afghanistan, according to Taliban officials. Dozens of people remain missing after heavy rainfall hit 5 districts in Baghlan province, with warnings the death toll could rise ahead of a further 2 storms forecast to spread across the region on Friday night. Pictures on social media showed torrents of water sweeping through houses in several villages, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The country has been hit by unusually heavy rainfall over the last few weeks, with floods killing more than 100 people since mid-April. Abdul Mateen Khani, a spokesman for Afghanistan's Interior Ministry, told the BBC those who had died came from the Boka district in Baghlan province. More than 200 people have been trapped inside their homes there. The United Nations General Assembly has enhanced Palestine's rights within the organization and called for it to be accepted as a member. Palestine has had non-member observer status since 2012, which allows some right short of a full member. Membership can only be decided upon by the UN Security Council. The US recently vetoed a bid for full membership, but Friday's vote can be seen as a gesture of support for the Palestinians. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas welcomed the resolution, saying it supported Palestinian efforts for another vote on the issue by the Security Council. Fiji's long-serving Prime Minister, former Frank Bainimarama, has been sentenced to a year in prison for obstructing a police investigation into corruption. Bainimarama, 70, is one of the most high-profile politicians in the Pacific Islands, having led Fiji for more than 15 years until he was voted out in 2022. On the international stage, he was also a leading representative lobbying for climate change action for vulnerable Pacific countries. He was taken away in handcuffs after the High Court's ruling on Thursday. Last month, he was convicted of perverting the course of justice during a police investigation into university fraud. Prosecutors alleged he had told his friend, the former Fijian police commissioner, to drop a 2020 investigation into abuses of finances at the University of South Pacific, which included alleged bonuses, promotions and pay rises to staff. Back to the headlines of the world news. At least 60 killed in Afghanistan flash flooding. The UN General Assembly calls on Security Council to admit Palestine as a member. And former Fiji's Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama jailed for a year. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
The State Minister for Technology, Kanaka Herath, said that the much-awaited and long-overdue bill to amend the Telecommunications Regulatory Act after 28 years will be presented to Parliament. Additionally, he highlighted plans for the drafting of the National Cybersecurity Act in May. He also disclosed that in furtherance of boosting the tourism sector, 750 million rupees has been allocated for the development of the Pinnevela and Kitulgala tourism corridor. The State Minister made these observations during a press conference conducted Thursday at the Presidential Media Centre under the theme Collective Path to a Stable Future. That's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lanka released their official jersey for the upcoming ICC Men's T20 World Cup beginning from 1st June. This jersey was designed by Moose Clothing Company and the launch was held at the company headquarters at Jaila. Sri Lanka Cricket announced that it has increased player fees for all categories of Sri Lanka's international players with immediate effect. Issuing a statement, SLC stated that accordingly 41 players will be offered new contracts under 6 categories. Under the latest raise, match fees for the test format have been increased by 100%, while payments will be made on merit basis, the SLC said. There will be a different payment structure for a test match won, drawn or lost, it added. In the meantime, match fees for both ODI and T20I have been raised by 25%. Sri Lanka will be playing the inaugural match of the tournament against South Africa on June 3rd and would hope to begin their campaign with a win. Sri Lanka will be led by leg spinner Wanindu Hasaranga and have the likes of match winners such as Kusal Mendes, Matisha Patirana, Dhananjay De Silva and Mahesh Theekshana to help the team in creating history in the major T20 tournament. That came to you in sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න as වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Apple has apologized after a backlash over an advert that showed objects, including musical instruments and books, being crushed by a hydraulic press. Apple said the advert fell short of its goal of empowering and celebrating creatives in a statement released to marketing publication Ad Age. The video was meant to demonstrate how creativity has been compressed into the latest iPad. But celebrities, including Hugh Grant and Justin Bateman, reacted with horror to the destruction shown in the advert. That's business news, economic news to follow.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීත හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. The chairman of the Sector Advisory Committee for Automobile for the Ministry of Industries, Dimantha Jayawardena, said the Sri Lankan government is promoting automobile component manufacturing as a trust sector for growth, and the industry has plans to grow exports from the current $200 million to $1 billion soon. He said that Sri Lankan automotive component manufacturers went through one of the toughest business cycles from 2020, but has now recovered and is to become a major exporter. Sri Lanka's automobile assembly is experiencing significant growth and development with the involvement of world-renowned brands. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island after 2 p.m. Heavy showers more than 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, Sabragamo and northwestern provinces, also in the Galle and Matara districts. Showers may occur at several places in the coastal areas of the southern province during the morning too. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President announces plans to pass women empowering bills in Parliament by June. The 2024 investment target set to triple by the year end. The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Donald Liu will visit Sri Lanka. The President to consider increase in senior citizen deposit interest rates. Over 800,000 tourists have visited Sri Lanka this year. At least 60 killed in Afghanistan flash flooding. And Sri Lanka cricket increases player fee across all formats. We conclude this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to your host, Dilshan, to keep you entertained this Saturday morning. A very good morning to you, Dilshan, and it's back to you.